Every company on this floor spent between $10,000 to $30,000 just to set up a booth and fly their team out and exist in this room. They are paying a heavy premium for access to an industry's best buyers. The strategy for almost every exhibitor is to spend 2 days filling a bucket with leads. But there is a structural failure in how this operates. Almost every single one of these buckets has a hole in the bottom. This chart exposes the reality of that failure. Data from the Center for Exhibition Industry Research shows that 80% of trade show leads never receive any follow-up. A massive block of hard-earned contacts drops off a cliff. To put a dollar amount on that drop-off, capturing a single lead costs an average of $112. If you multiply that across a typical convention floor, you are looking at over $1.8 million leaking out of the building in a single weekend. This catastrophic loss of return on investment has nothing to do with bad products or poor attendance. It is entirely a failure of the booth's operational capture system. The leak is not on the roof, it is in the booth. Fixing this requires a choice between two distinct paths. You can stick to the legacy, old way of doing things on paper, or you can shift to the new way, driven by digital AI. The old way has an undeniable appeal. Putting a candy bowl and a fish bowl for business cards out on a table requires zero technical friction. It costs nothing up front. You just set it out and wait. The new way requires real work before the doors even open. It means building an interactive digital experience, housing it behind a QR code, and designing the logic that processes those interactions. It demands rigorous strategy. This is the trade-off you have to navigate. You can choose a zero-friction setup today that leads your money after the show, or you can make a heavy upfront investment today that guarantees an automated return later. The cost of choosing the easy route becomes obvious when you look at the people walking the floor. 81% of trade show attendees have buying authority. These are check writers. But a bowl of business cards is just a bucket of strangers. When the show ends, your sales reps have a stack of paper with names and emails, but zero context. They cannot tell the difference between a hot buyer with an immediate budget and a casual browser who just wanted a free pen. This comparison matrix breaks down the difference in data quality. On the left, paper leaves you with high labor and no context. On the right, replacing that paper with a 40-second interactive phone experience, like a custom calculator showing their revenue leak, or a scored quiz, changes the equation entirely. Look at the exact output on the right side. The moment a visitor finishes that 40-second experience, they hand over their contact info alongside 4 qualifying answers. The system instantly scores them as hot, warm, or cool. By engaging visitors at their exact moment of peak curiosity, digital capture yields 3 to 4 times more leads than paper methods. You are giving them a score or a prize in exchange for their data. Simply collecting contacts creates a 12-hour administrative nightmare. Creating interactive experiences generates immediately actionable sales intelligence. Let's track what happens when the floor closes. The old way leaves exhausted sales reps sitting at an airport, staring down dirty badge scan data and a massive manual data entry job that nobody wants to do. Organizationally, this is where the system breaks. In 42% of companies, marketing assumes sales will handle the follow-up, and sales assumes marketing will do it, so nobody does. This graph tracks the lifespan of a lead, and the math is merciless. Contact a lead within 5 minutes of meeting them, and they are 21 times more likely to qualify. But watch the drop-off. Wait past 48 hours, and your odds of qualifying drop 10 times. Half of all buyers will simply choose whoever responds first. If you are waiting until you get back to the office, the race is already over. The new way guarantees you win this race. The instant a visitor completes your QR experience, an automated personalized email fires to their inbox. Your follow-up happens while they are taking their 3rd step away from your booth. Speed is not an operational bonus. At a trade show, speed is the single most critical factor in winning revenue. There is another variable here. 73% of the leads you meet are not ready to buy on the day they make contact. Manual, paper-based follow-up typically discards these people. Not yet gets treated like a no, completely wasting the money you spent to acquire their attention in the first place. The digital setup scales into what we call the 363-day mode. You take that same interactive asset from the booth and embed it on your website. Then you trigger an automated 5-step sequence that nurtures that lead over 60 days. the trade show only lasts 2 days. A properly engineered digital system continues extracting your return on investment for the rest of the year. If you think your team's sheer willpower will overcome post-show fatigue, consider a famous piece of industry research. A researcher handed exhibitors fake business cards with a literal request for information written right on the back. 85% of those exhibitors never followed up in any form. And among the very few who did respond, some took over 50 days. By that time, the buyer's window was firmly closed. Human intention does not scale. Growing up in Detroit, the foundational rule of business was simple. You do not waste a harvest you already paid to plant. If you paid for the leads, you build a machine to collect them. Your biggest threat at a trade show isn't a competitor across the aisle. It is your own reliance on exhausted humans to do a job meant for automated systems. So who should actually use the paper method? If you run a micro-business attending a local community event where you only expect a dozen conversations, keep the clipboard. You can manage that manually. Look at this quadrant chart to find where you belong. If your booth spend pushes you into the top right, spending over $10,000 with high foot traffic and a sales team needing prioritized data, you must adopt the digital interactive method. When you transition to digital and that automated follow-up actually happens, the industry average proves out a $4.50 return for every single dollar spent. If you are ready to make that transition, the next step is to book a Boothly audit. You will walk away with a structural grading of your current plan and a custom mock-up of your own interactive experience so you can see the solution before you buy it. The buyers will definitely be in the building. It is entirely up to you to ensure your bucket doesn't have a hole in it.